Hello my YouTubers. This is Roy back again, working on some of my lead scallion wheel here. I repositioned it today. I got it nice and stout. I got a good gap in between the magnets in my ground coil. I got a coil attached in the center of the wheel. I got a capacitor to the top part of this ground coil, separating the ground coil capacitor, the ground coil with the capacitor, and my top coil. My top coil has that copper, 3/4 inch copper tubing that runs in here and runs up to about right there. We also have our secondary capacitor. We've got our high voltage. We're going to come out of my rheostat. We're going to plug it into the wall. We're going to join together. What I'm going to do is take the bottom of this coil and I am going to come over here just like this and make a spark gap underneath that center shaft. Okay, and we are going to charge the block the opposite charge of what's coming out of the bottom coil wire out of the ground there. And then we're going to send that up through this coil. Also, we're creating a magnetic field over here with the flange and on this copper here, with the pipe being in the middle of it, and that'll help turn the wheel. Also, I have this coil over here, this field magnet, and that'll help turn the wheel. And then you also have the wheel turning with the coil on top. Now just remember, we're going to be going slow and low, so we're going to be looking to stretch out the field as slow as we can, and then when we snap that field and break the field strength there, snap from it, what it'll do is it'll create a nice big arc snap, and that's going to come over to this capacitor here. And then that capacitor is going to let loose, and it is going to come back over to this side over here, down the coil, back over to this side here. So anyway, you guys have a good night. Tomorrow is day off, Sunday. And what I'll do tomorrow is I'll start putting all the wires together. I like how this thing really rolls better now. It's much smoother. And got a spinning Tesla coil. Yep. Also inside here, if you see how close I am to the V-shaped magnets, I'm going to be wrapping up this centerpiece here with another primary. So this primary in here will be coming up with a thicker wire, which doesn't touch this, but it'll be pretty much using the whole metal underneath here, because we have our spark gap. The whole metal will be charging up the primary and the storage tank for the primary pretty much, which will be releasing upward over here and sending this out, and this will be bouncing over to this side, and I'm going to go ahead and try to pull it back down And we're going to insert right here a pancake coil, which is actually it'll be on this top here. It won't be on the bottom, it'll be on the top. So right here we'll get a pancake coil, and that'll be the primary over here. Sort of strangely too, because taking a capacitor with the copper pipe up and putting a pancake coil on top of the capacitor gives that capacitor a wide range of different uses. We're going to connect these two capacitors, and we're going to take it one step at a time. But the initial goal here is to, one, I'll get this relay set up on this so it'll turn the wheel slowly using the field magnet and the coil over here. And then doing so, it will keep turning. And then also what we're going to do is set up another shelf around it here in this area and probably in the front. And we're going to set up some different coils. I really do like the way this tower is sitting on the capacitor, because when I set up this pancake coil, the top of this tower is going to be filled with static, which is going to be charging the capacitor without even putting high voltage into the capacitor. It'll be charging the capacitor. So as I'm talking to you guys, I'm kind of working out some of the things that these capacitors will be doing. I guess I need to do a couple little trial runs to see when I take that high voltage out of my car coil there. Of course, it'll have 60 cycles coming in from the wall, but also I was thinking it will be plugged in and touching in the center of this capacitor to get one capacitor going. We'll have to see about that, because I'm thinking that the high voltage might be better coming into the block, and that means this whole block area here will be a positive charge. Really a lot of juice in that block, and that block I can connect the bottom of this primary to the block. The top of the primary can go to the bottom of this secondary, and then it could go up the secondary, and at the top here we could check a couple things. I guess one is let it loose, let's see what happens. Secondary to that would be try a pancake coil on top and see what it does. And then also on this tower here, I'm really excited because what I actually have here is a steel pipe going in the ground about maybe 12 feet, 10 feet, and it's wrapped up with 16 gauge 450 turns, insulated from the pipe with some duct tape, and when you put 12 volts in it, it sends a beautiful magnetic charge in there, makes the top one direction, the bottom the opposite. So we know it does that, but also when you pulse it, it does a lot of strange things. As my other video I showed that when you're pulsing it, it moves metal around. So it's magnetizing, unmagnetizing in such a manner that it's, you know, moving stuff around. And I noticed that when you really get it dialed in, it sort of jumps a little bit. So there'd be the faster pulses. It makes things like kind of go up and down. So it threw the hammer off. It threw the screwdriver off. But what I'm excited about is this pipe, because I'm wrapped around with copper I'm going to be putting spark gaps on either end of those wires. And like I said yesterday about the amperage, that is, the ground provides amperage, and the sky provides voltage. And pretty much what I'm doing here is I'm taking the ground, which is this pipe, separating it with a saltwater capacitor and collecting static through the high voltage that's coming out of these coils here. And pretty much, like I said yesterday, that's going to be my teaser. That I got shocked here, oh shit, probably about a month ago. And I turned down my rheostat and said, oh, I'm getting sparks out of my finger. Let me just touch ground. I'm going to get bigger sparks. Well, ba-boom. I got hit hard and hit. Boy, it wasn't fun. But what it did teach me was that no matter what I touch up top, you feel it, you know it's there, it's running through the outside layer of your body, you're excited. But the minute you go towards ground, the amperage came up from the ground to me. And that's what I noticed when I got sparked. It didn't come from what I was touching up top. It came up from the ground. So the ground is everything. Everything is about the ground. And I'm going to show you guys with these videos I have coming up, and even with this one talking about is, you know, it's little things like this that separates just ground being ground, because in order for that ground to get me like that, it was me and the high voltage, and me being the middleman, I got hit with that all at once. I was the you know, the connection. And the same thing now with this capacitor. If you notice the outside capacitor of the capacitor, it's foil. Well, this capacitor really leaks all over the place, so it doesn't hold any energy. But that's good for what I'm doing right now, because right now I'm experimenting on teasing the ground to come up with the voltage that's coming out of the top. Now, see the top coil of this capacitor. Couple experiments I'm going to try, but one I'm excited to try is to send downward on this one and upward on that one. And what that'll do is create a vacuum, a draw, like a energy draw inside the capacitor. And basically the capacitor becomes a static collector, and it bam, you know, you follow what I'm saying? It just brings two energies together, voltage and amperage together. And this is just a theory, guys. But anyway, so this is one of the studies I like to try, and just the whole setup here. Then this other thing here is taking this wheel with it slowly turning. Why even slowly turn it? Well, because right now we're going to slowly turn it by using a 12-volt battery with a field magnet. But the way I wrap this pipe here, it has a strong pull. So once I get it dialed in, tuned, and I get the relay 100% adjusted and worked out, then this has a good chance of turning, and possibly we can provide amperage to go back into itself to go ahead and drive it. So that's just another thing to be seen, but reasons why it should or should not, we'll find out. It's all about trying everything out. I'm not the greatest math person, so I'd rather sit here and try 100 experiments and know what everything does and put it on the shelf. So when I get a little bit smarter, when I need it, I can just go back and get it. Anyway, you guys have a great night. You see, I put up my makeshift little angle iron up top. It's pretty creative, huh? Hung it off my 2x12. This motor is heavy, boy. To get that thing up there, I got this thing up there stout now. She's sitting on all these 2x. Got the shaft down bottom, exposed that better. Got all this stuff up here. And I love the way that, look at the gap right there. So that's a nice gap right there going. So when I charge up that